Okay, now first we talked about MMA. We talked about like competing with still a rule set. What are some ways that you think WTF players can walk outside and be able to safely use it?
Perfect.
That was good. That was great.
Fun.
Whew.
A lot of fun.
A lot of fun. You stuck to your jab a lot, which I was hoping you wouldn't. I was hoping you wouldn't. Lots of uppercuts. It was good. On and off punches a year-ish.
So, like a one time a week for a year. You know?
Yeah. I mean, still, that's good though. One time a week is still a lot more than no times a week, right?
Sir.
Okay, so that being said, we tried to alienate kicks. Or no, alienate punches? No, alienate kicks. That's the right word I'm looking for, right?
Leave them out.
Yeah, right. Get rid of those kicks. As a Taekwondo practitioner, what do you see in styles outside of Taekwondo that either utilize Taekwondo or they could use more of it?
Definitely when I cross-train with kickboxing, a lot of my Taekwondo works well as far as maintaining distance with that lead leg cut kick.
Yeah. The cut kick, which one's that?
Just that lead leg side
kick? Okay.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And then using that with the flip kick, I get success, or the question mark kick.
Question mark. Okay, gotcha.
Going over the top of a lot of guards, it looks like a low or middle range height kick, and then you throw it up over the guard.
Yeah.
And then you put up the 2 and 2 together where you cut and then turn it to the question mark kick.
Yeah, that kind of that control. Yeah, absolutely. But I know for a fact that you got me with that at least twice. With this one here, that question mark kick. And especially when you can time it and go slower with it and then speed it up at the end and go here and then hold it for a second and then drop it over top, which is what we talked about in the roundhouse video.
Yeah.
Where you throw it and then you rechamber it right where it is.
Exactly. So
it's not about pulling it back. Correct me if I'm wrong. In WTF, you can both get a point within like a second of each other.
Yes.
So if I land a kick, you can land a kick back?
Exactly.
Gotcha. So the goal there is to land a kick, hold it there so you don't get a point scored on you back?
Exactly.
Okay.
Until you have sufficient range, of course.
Yeah, right. Okay. Do you watch any MMA, any combat, any kickboxing, anything?
I watch UFC when I can catch it.
Yeah.
You know, big fan, love watching it.
What are some ways that people can add Taekwondo into their style to make them stand out from everybody else? Because obviously, like, at no point are we talking about you can win a UFC championship with just Taekwondo.
Yeah.
Just like you can't win it with just karate, just like you can't win it with just wrestling. You've got, well, maybe with wrestling, I don't know. You got those little stocky guys with legs that are like this big around. But what do you think makes people who take Taekwondo stand out in MMA?
So one thing I'll notice in a Taekwondo fighter is that they stand more bladed than most other fighters.
Yeah.
Because they're favoring the lead leg. They're used to protecting the point area and turning it away from their opponent.
Right.
So I think if you can adjust your hands to that bladed style, I think Venom Page does it.
Yeah.
And learn to throw those awkward jabs and hide that cross, but it keeps your spinning options open because you're cheated sideways as well.
Yeah.
So I'd say the biggest telltale sign of a Taekwondo player in MMA is that initial stance being so bladed.
Yeah. So karate's a fairly similar thing, very wide stance. Taekwondo's a little bit more narrow.
Yeah, so Taekwondo focuses more on speed because again, you're not trying to hurt a person for a point.
Yeah.
It's all about speed. I got to get there before you can move it or cover it.
Right.
So a taller stance is going to have a little bit less power, but it's going to be a faster stance.
Yeah, right.
A deeper stance is going to be more
get
powerful,
those legs up quicker.
but it's a little bit more of a commitment.
Right. Gotcha. And then karate, which is similar but not, is all about getting in, committing, and then getting away.
Yeah.
Where Taekwondo, you trade a little bit more. Now you don't want to trade, but you're close enough that if you didn't do the right things defensively, you could trade.
Yes, because you're in that kicking range. Because we focus primarily on the legs.
Yeah.
It's, you're either outside the kicking range, you're in the kicking range, and that's, got a little variable, or you're chest to chest, belly to belly, we call that our clinch.
Yeah.
So there's so much time and ranges that you can trade back and forth until you get out of that range, that you always kind of have to be on your guard.
Yeah.
And that's why that lead leg and that balance and hip control is so important, so that you don't put it down if you're still in the other person's range.
Right, yeah. And that's something, you definitely have to work on that too, especially with the threat of the takedown. Like,
yes.
You've got to be careful, because even with that leg up, what's cool is that you can throw these kicks, and while you might get more likely to get taken down when you're throwing kicks, but if you have that up, I don't know how much you guys have worked on this, but like getting caught and then framing with that leg to be able to kind of sprawl a little bit and
the
take
shin
that
as
time.
a shield.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So with Taekwondo, we don't train with the takedowns and the catching kicks because it's not within our rule set.
Sure.
But when I cross-trained Muay Thai, I ran into that a lot. People are catching my legs and they're not letting them go.
Yeah.
So you learn to adapt kind of on the fly with those takedowns, with the sweeps as well.
Right.
I cross-train. I do Taekwondo and Hapkido primarily. That's what I teach. And then, I love to play in jiu-jitsu. I love to play in kickboxing. Just try to learn as much as I can.
Right. And what's cool, and I think what happens is when people are taking it, they get super involved in their one style, which I think they should. And they get to a point where they're like, oh, this doesn't work because of this. And they like look at other styles and they think, oh, that wouldn't work. That wouldn't work. And what happens is, as you get like past a certain ranking or like mindset or whatever it is, you start to look at everything else and be like, oh, that would work for me. That would help me. And I think that's really cool. With karate and taekwondo, we're limited.
Yeah.
Like, we know we're limited to a certain rule set, to a certain stylistic preference, to whatever it is. Being able to add those things and keep that mindset of how can I help my teaching and my learning by using other stuff, by cheating, by stealing.
Well, I think of it like a basketball team. You have 5 different players with 5 different jobs to get the work done, right?
Yeah, right.
When in martial arts, you're the whole team. The different martial arts are the different players. So the more players you can add to your team, then the better off you're going to be.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So they all support each other, and they all counter each other in different ways, shapes, and forms.
Yeah, you don't want to just have 5 centers in there, all in the post. That's a great analogy. I like that a lot. Okay, now first we talked about MMA. We talked about like competing with still a rule set. What are some ways that you think WTF players can walk outside and be able to safely use it?
I would say the biggest thing is, if you compete, you're more used to pressure.
Sure.
You're more used to high stress situations. And that's what an outdoor encounter is. When somebody's giving you trouble, you don't know what the escalation is going to be, but the more you're used to a high stress situation, then the more clear-headed you're going to be and make wiser decisions. I could say you could throw head kicks and things like this. We train punches as well. But I think in self-defense world, nothing comes more with experience, and you're not going to get experience with street fights unless you're a jerk.
Yeah, right. Unless you get a bunch of street fights.
So it's just however you can mimic that stress, whether it's in training, whether it's in competition. I think that helps people better adapt for those situations, self-defense situations.
Perfect. Obviously, we teach a bunch of kids. We try and make it so we obviously want to boost confidence. We want to be like, this is stuff that's good for you, and it is.
Yeah, for sure.
This is great for your cardio. This is great for the stress of it all. What would you recommend that if someone found themselves in that situation would change to not go to? Like, obviously we have our go-tos. I have my like we throw tornado kicks and we throw this stuff. What do you suggest that you don't do? You make a habit of not trying to do first thing if you found yourself in that situation.
So that's good. Well, Taekwondo, pick your hands up. When we fight, we're not allowed to throw punches to the face. So a lot of our sparring, we have that lower guard because the distance where somebody can kick you in the face, you have a little bit more time to react. So hands up would be the easy one.
Hands up. And nobody's trying to hit you in the body out there. Nobody.
No, exactly.
Nobody's trying to score points on you.
The next thing would be keep it simple, right? Don't go out throwing tornado kicks and back hook kicks. I love kicking high. I'm great at it. I've done it for a long time. The chances of me in a self-defense situation giving somebody a head kick are slim to none, to be honest with you. Just because I don't know what kind of surface I'm going to be on. Is it wet? Is it slippery? Am I on gravel? If they catch my kick and dump me, it's like,
I made a video a while back on like the circumstances that you can kick. Like, and it's just like what you talked about. What kind of surface are you on? What kind of pants are you wearing? What are your shoes? Like, are you in slides? Are you warmed up? Like, how easily can you just kick that high? I actually believe that if you were in a situation, you could kick somebody in the head very easily. Now, with that being said, that doesn't mean that's what we should do. Because I know for a fact that we train kicking people in the head way more than anybody else trains not getting kicked in the head. But it is important to keep these things in mind. Like, I can't speak for you. I feel like I have the confidence that if I wanted to keep somebody away and they were at the right range, I could side kick them whenever I wanted to.
That makes sense.
And I think the goal is to like train to a point where you can use things that other people can't, but also be honest with yourself on which of those things are going to possibly get you hurt. Obviously, the rule is to just not get in fights.
Exactly.
Obviously, don't get in fights. Why are you fighting? What is so important that you have to fight? You know, especially if you're a kid. Like, nothing's ever that serious. Bullies are obviously tough. If you have a bully situation, don't take most of your advice from this video. Find somewhere to train, find somewhere you can pressure test and use things, create good cardio, create good stress for yourself, controlled environments where you can make yourself better. Is there anything that's not athletically based that you think Taekwondo, actually I know for a fact there is, what are some of the things that you work on in Taekwondo that you think go past the physical aspect of it? Like the mental aspect, the, well, I guess that's kind of it after physical, it's mental, right?
So I think that's a big aspect of martial arts, is building up your character, your confidence, your perseverance, your indomitable spirit. And I think, like you said, if you're a kid, don't fight, right? No kid needs to learn how to fight. They need to learn how to be respectful. They need to learn discipline. They need to learn confidence for themselves, positive self-esteem. And I think that's something that martial arts gives to them and can be a really good tool for them to build them up, because I think that's what kids need most.
Yeah, right, absolutely. And what's cool about that kind of stuff is that, and I think traditional styles like ours kind of gravitate towards kids because of those things. Like, because we're not necessarily teaching them, we're not trying to get them to fight people. You know what I mean? We are putting them in situations where they will better themselves physically, obviously.
Of course.
But if you learn all those other things, like the courage, the honesty, the respect, then you're most likely not going to find yourself in those situations as often. You're not going to find yourself hanging out with people that don't have those qualities, who are more likely to want to fight. Like, the more confused souls are the ones that are going to be fighting. And what we do is we help you find yourself, which means you usually don't want to fight people as much.
Yeah, and from my experience, life experiences, most fights are only because of ego. Somebody didn't want to walk away. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
There's, you know, a small percentage of instances where that's not the case, but
where you have no choice, somebody is just intent on fighting.
The vast majority, though, can all be settled if one party or the other walks away.
Yeah, right. And which can mean taking the L, which can mean looking like a punk, which it can mean a super amount of things to somebody else.
Yes, very.
But if it's to yourself, you know that what you did was the win, because you're not getting punched in the face, you're not punching somebody else in the face. Who cares? This took an interesting turn. Very different than the topic I thought it was going to be, but I like it way more. Aspects of Taekwondo that will better your game. I have to say it once, because I don't think I've said it this whole time.
Taekwondo is not safe space karate.
I got kicked in the head. I can't argue. All right, hit him with the kick. Kick right at the camera. Subscribe or I'll kick you. Bah!